Good morning, guys. It is Monday, and I am giving you your last session for the 5D Vessel Workshop. After this class, we are going to resume in the Jedi Mind Masterclass. We're going to be working on changing contracts, voiding contracts, shifting timelines, shifting characters, and we're going to be working on original sin. Now, if you really pay attention and watch the workshop classes 3 times each, along with doing Kabbalah 1 3 times each, remember, every single time you take a workshop, okay, you're going to shift. Like there's going to be parts of awareness that are going to awaken, and then there's going to be kind of a part of you that's going to be in a little bit of rejection, and then there's going to be, all of your little fortified entities and demons and stories and backstories that are going to now kind of like flooded and work to create confusion, distraction. But you got a nugget, so ride that nugget and go back in, and instead of like trying to hear a new person say the same thing, ask yourself, is that distraction? Is that going to confuse me? Or do I want to anchor in? And again, if I was going to choose, you're only going to watch one thing 3 times, it would be Kabbalah 1. Because anything that I can offer you guys is more of the how techniques that I am doing it and that I am like unfolding in each and every session right now. I mean, like I truly feel, and I know this is because my vessel is changing. The work that we've been doing in our mentorships the last month is like groundbreaking. Like I have never in 15 years of coaching got off of a session and been like, oh, like so much shift, so much change, so much integrations. And then from week to week, it's like I know exactly like why we're not accelerating, and that's going to be this class today. So if you're not working with a mentor, myself or anyone else, you really are going to have to kind of be your own mentor here. And the way that you can do that is, remember, it's always going to be easier for you to help someone else with their problems, because you're all empathic and you're all sensitive and you all have a spiritual gift, and it is so much easier for you to be able to see like where someone else is like holding on, or being out of alignment. And so you can coach yourself, right? You can take your very problem and you can be like, how would I speak to someone who was having this problem, and write it down. What would I tell them to do, and then write it down. And again, what it does is it takes the ego hook out of its job of keeping you on script, and it goes, well, if we were going to help someone else, that's a different hat you're wearing. So sometimes if you just put on a different hat and you ask yourself the same question, and if you really stick with me, you guys are going to know, like, it's laughable. Like Awan and I were working on a project last night, and we were like laughing about how comical the scripts are when you start to pull them and you match them with your casting characters. And like even the project we started doing 2 days ago, like she had started like planning 2 weeks ago, and her and I have the exact same Cancer in Saturn, right? And I was saying in one of the videos, I don't know if it was the one that got lost or not, but wherever you have Cancer in your chart is literal like Cancer. Okay. It is like an illness in that particular sign. And I'm not saying that the heel cancers it's like, remember, every sign is like a pendulum, like it's extreme, right? It's like take Aries. It's like wildfire, forest fire, or nothing but smoke. So we're talking about the extremes, okay? And wherever you have like a Cancer, it's almost like Cancer runs in my family type of thing. All right. And so, but healed Cancer is kind of like you're going to have superhuman cells if you can heal the Cancer. And Owen and I happen to have Cancer in our second house, which is Saturn, which is like money and safety and, you know, all the things that you need as a human. So then I looked at my Venus, and I also had Cancer in my Venus, and I was like, well, that makes sense. You guys have heard my kryptonite with relationships and love and feeling love and connecting with love and feeling autistic, like I can't feel love. And well, now I understand that it's a sickness. And if I look in my bloodline, it kind of runs down, right? Big empathic, sensitive hearts, like, but kind of closed off. And, you know, channeling that pain through art and music and everywhere else except kind of in the family, like rooting in the family. So again, then my antidote or my chemotherapy is very specific to my particular chart and my game. And now that wouldn't be for you, because your your placement in this game is so unique. Like no charts are the same. Like it's got a little twist, but you don't need to know my story. You need to know how to read the chart. Now you're asking yourself, do I really need to read this? Well, it doesn't. I'm not an astrologer, you guys, and I'm not the brightest tool in the shed. But what I'm looking for is energy and frequency and vibration and patterns and synchronicities and alignments. And so when you start to realize that your reality that you're looking at right now, that you're interacting with, the people in your life, the challenges you have in your life, the good things in your life, your home, your car, your money, your time, your body, your house, your relationships, the relationship you have with the world, the relationship with you have with the past, the relationship you have with the future. It is all coming from the womb projection of the seeds that you have fertilized within you, which means every character that is in your movie is so significant that if you would look at the ones that you run far away from, you would grow the fastest. And it's not about going up to them and forgiving them. You've got to figure out why they're in your movie, Kabbalah One. And it's not just like, why are you in my movie? You've got to understand that the way that this game works is that you are the Adam and Eve, which is original sin. Okay. And when you understand that no matter what you do, that in your Adam and Eve vessel, right, your prototype, you have this original sin in every cell, in every fiber, in every aspect of your chart until you overcome original sin. Okay. Now I have been experimenting now that I've like getting new pieces of this game, and it's just getting simpler and simpler and simpler because my, I can get, I unpacked something huge this morning at like 5 a.m. and I was like, there it is. And it was in plain sight. And it's right there. And then that's the missing piece. And then that's the emotion I need to feel. And that's the change I need to make. And that's the behavior I need to kind of work with. And this is what I need to call in. And this is what I need to sacrifice. Right. So we're working on allowing that Christed vessel. Okay. It is not you who is going to become Christed. It is the vessel that is awaiting, that is the soul. Okay. So if I was going to say, what is the Christ vessel? It is more of your soul. And if your soul can be in your body, you will be performing miracles. Okay. But when you incarnate, you have a little piece of your soul inhabiting the body because it doesn't vibrate and match with original sin. And everybody comes in and is like, I would say, probably 99% original sin and 1% soul. And then the objective is to lead with your soul, aka the inner child, the inner artist, the inner creator, the inner lover, the inner knower, the inner seer, and not create desires and your entire life out of the 1% circumstantial form. And of course, we know not to do that until we're 7. And then 7 kind of is like when we get broke down and we go kind of on a quest to like either prove our family wrong or get as far away from them as we can, or, do the opposite of what they've done. And literally we were reinitiated, reanimated, reacted in the original sin based on your first 7 years. So it's almost like that's what begins the game, because you come in and you're fresh from the bigness of who you are, the completion of who you are, the higher self, the state of heaven, the residing in the Eden part of your existence, where it was like everything's at your fingertips, and you want for nothing, and you're creating, and you're co-creating and all these things. And then you come into this vessel, and all of a sudden it's like you're guilty by association, and now you're God in this vessel that has all the guilt by association loaded in it 12 generations back, right? And that is going to put you in the placement of the game so that you can strategically and uniquely, okay, transform. Because I don't like the word heal. You're not healing, you're transforming your thoughts and your words and your deeds and your desires to match this calling of your soul. So the whole time, the reason why we don't get lost, all right, is because that soul, one tiny percent maybe, that is beaconing down, it keeps that pilot light on, all right? And that pilot light is never going to go away. Your calling is never going to stop calling. But, if you are not here to play the golden age game, if you are not here to play the new earth, simulation, if you are not here to at least put an effort in to attaining the Christ vessel, then that pilot light can go out. And it may never truly go out, but you will find a way to cover it up, okay, with addictions and suppression and all of the things. And so in your chart, you have built in the pendulum swing of each of your signs, okay? And we've heard this like in astrology for, oh, Geminis, oh, this, oh, that. But on the other side, like the healed Gemini or the healed Aries or the healed this. But one thing you guys are going to learn if you stick with me and go to Jedi, and we're going to talk about this next week, is that, remember, one clue I can tell you why this all makes sense to me is because I am dyslexic. And so I have always, even to this day, when I look at a piece of paper, I start from right and I try to read left. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm starting at the end. And now if you understand creation, if you went through Neville Goddard's work with us, then living at the end is actually how the 7 days of creation are made. You're kind of like, the end is your highest desire, not your survival desires, but the highest desire of what you could create, manifest, and be in this timeline. That is actually what you hold, even though it feels so far away and too expensive for you to ever have it, and all of these things. It's actually where your end game is. And that, the more we look at that, the more we allow that to poke at us and pick at us and challenge us, the more, right, light that we can stream from it and to it, and it becomes its own bridge. But you're going to be working out these pendulum swings of the aspects of your chart, right? So whatever astrology you are coming in as your sun sign, right? Then that's going to be like the main sign that is going to be your starting point of this particular incarnation. Because you may not realize this, but if you do not make it through this incarnation into the Christ vessel, you will actually go to the next astrology sign. Okay, so if I think Cancer's next for me. So if I don't figure this Gemini game out, right, then I'm going to go to Cancer, and I'm going to start in Cancer. That's going to be my main sign. So when I'm looking at the strategics of this game, I can understand why I chose Gemini, although I resonate more with Taurus energy now as I'm healing, because it's grounded, it's rooted, it's responsible, you know, it's artistic, it's sensual without being wishy-washy and all over the place. And I resonate more with that as I'm starting to heal. But the Gemini energy is perfect because we are intelligent, we are witty, intelligent, fast thinkers. We can hold two aspects at one time. We can multitask. We can do all of these things. That was perfect for me to figure this out for my particular movie. Your sign is going to be perfect for you to figure it out. And it works because it's going to work backwards, basically. So ultimately, if I hack the game, which I will, and move to the next level in my next incarnation if I choose, or if I choose to incarnate in this reality, I will actually start as a Taurus. Because in Kabbalah, right, you're going backwards in the signs when through expansion. Now, contraction is going from left to right. That's why the English language is the way it is it's designed to keep us in a constant state of contraction. And if you think about it, super consciousness is the right side, and subconscious is and unconscious is on the left side. So if you die in this reality, you're going to awaken in your sub and unconscious. If you master the game, you will awaken or you will become the next sign over. And there's no sign that's better or worse, but for your heaven on earth, like, okay, for my heaven on earth, Taurus would be perfect. Perfect. Okay. Because Tauruses are grounded and anchored and family minded, and they can hold substance and they can hold grounding energy and they can hold all these things. And the investigation that I found out this morning was it is the very sign that I have nowhere in my chart. Nowhere. What that means, if you have missing signs, guys, it is because that part of you has died off. And that is the thing I have struggled with the past, is holding and having and really managing and commitment and all those things that, the Taurus has, like, naturally. Now, Taurus has a dark side, of course, but the thing is like, if you look at the highest, the highest light of the Taurus and the biggest shadow, the merge point is going to be where all the mastery is going to be, because it becomes like fluid and flow and balance. Okay, that's just a little snippet of where we're going to be going in Jedi. Now, for you guys, I didn't want to leave you hanging because I think that it kind of worked out perfect with the idea of giving you that angels and curses and spells class. Now, again, on some points of view, you already knew some of those things, but hopefully it really kind of stopped you in your tracks on how you're showing up in the game, how you're thinking. Because again, one thing I learned from my little 2 grams of deep dive a week and a half ago, however long it was, is that from my higher perspective, I realized that there has never been one thing outside of me that I've ever been afraid of, because the most scariest things that I could imagine are actually inside, and they're inside the vessel. So what you are doing, or we've been doing, every time we block someone or push someone out of our life, or we move away, or we change something about ourselves, or we get a different job, or all the things that ego tells you to do, you're actually not changing the seeds that continue to fertilize. Because what you don't change on the inside at the seed level is refertilized. So that means that you go through the time and the effort and the money to move or block or change your name, or all these things that you do in physical reality, and all you are doing is getting more anchored into Saturn, and you're replanting the next seed. But higher self is like, okay, because what you're going to eventually do based on original sin is you're going to be strategically trying to move away from something that's uncomfortable. And what you're actually doing is you're going to eventually run out of options. It's almost like you're going to get yourself cornered. And once you get yourself cornered, you're going to be stuck there. And in that place, there's no more blocking. There's no more running. There's no more running away. And so again, that's when you have to face your own creation, because you're playing God here. You are creating everything outside of you. Now you do come in with an origin story. You come in with the creation of you creating as Adam and Eve. And so what do you think that you would be creating in your physical reality if your original sin was guilt and shame? Right? Therefore, abandonment and rejection, aka the emotional signature, is guilt and shame. So that means that guilt and shame is at every single seed level point inside all of your vessels. Now, in some areas of your chart, there could be more mastery with the guilt and shame. Okay, like in certain areas, you could have been really cleared through, you don't feel guilt and shame in this area. Okay, or you don't feel guilt and shame in certain, and again, that is kind of our way that we can stay above water, is we have done a lot of the work. But what you want the most, because again, what you came for, right? It's not what you're good at. You came to clear original sin in certain areas so that that would create the quantum leap to the highest desire, because you think you can't have what you want right now because of money or time or health. Nope, it's guilt and shame. That is why you're saying no to the daily bread or to the abundance that is constantly bombarding you and obsessed with you. You are saying no because of guilt and shame. Now, I've already explained to you in other classes that guilt's personality, which means that guilt is an emotion, energy in motion. So it is an angel, basically, that is within every ounce of you that says, I deserve to be punished. You need to swallow up for a minute. Okay. Now, and shame means I should hide or be small, right? It's like I need to hide. So, okay, what I've been seeing in the mentorships is, we're really looking at our soul's desires, not our ego desires, not 3D desires, not our kids' desires, but our soul's desires. And then it's like, okay, so let's create some action steps. Let's create some new language. Let's create some new angels that can come in, some new avatars that can speak back to us, and some new animated creators, some new animated characters to come in, because that's all you actually have to do, right? But then the next week I'm starting to see, you did not do any of it. Oh, and you didn't even do the software. Oh, and you didn't do this. And I'm like, it's original sin. Because the thing is like what happens, and this is why most people can just stay in complaining and blame and all that, because once you start to go towards these higher desires, you're going to start feeling unease, discomfort, discontentment, like unease, like all this feeling. And you're not, if you've buried guilt and shame, deep, you're just going to feel like you forgot, or you got confused, or your week was too distracting, or if you're really honest and you have a very good relationship with me, you're like, I don't know why I didn't do it. And I've heard that several times. And I'm like, I know, I've been there too. It's not like I didn't know any of this before, so how can I judge? But the thing is what I've got to do then is I've got to take them through the original sin deprogramming. And that is a little bit of a process. That's what we begin next week in Jedi. But what I want you to do today is we're going to kind of clean up and wrap up this concept of vessel work, because even if you didn't stick with us and finish out the Jedi, what you're going to understand is that if you take to heart, not your head, you cannot logic this, take to heart what I'm going to give you, okay, and you're intuitive and resourceful and attentive to yourself, you will be able to figure this out on your own without, my formula for original sin, because you come in with original sin, every single one of us, and you've got to go through Jesus's walk, right? There's an actual formula in the scripture that when you look at that through Kabbalah, it becomes like that masculine and feminine effort, because it isn't just a walk, it's a feeling, it's a combination, it is the merge. It's almost like you're walking through the shadow of your own death, right? Your own guilt and shame valleys, your graveyard, and you're meeting this new vessel. So struggling to receive anywhere, it's original sin. Struggling to give somewhere, original sin. Struggling to accept something or let go of judgment, original sin. So this is how we can kind of like step back and look at our reality as a program. And this is going to help you guys not so take your life so damn personally. They're not doing this to you. You generated them out of your own womb space or your own matrix, your own vessel. Regardless, male, woman, you created that character to treat you that way because of your story and your game. You need them to treat you that way, or you will never find original sin. Okay, you need to show up differently. You need to call in what we're going to call, when we begin next week, we're going to call like the change. We're going to call it a change of guard. We're going to start moving out these dark security systems that have been guarding Saturn's energy. Saturn has been playing your false father this whole time. Go look at where Saturn is. That's your daddy issue. 100%. Go to your moon sign. That's your mommy issue. 100%. You want to know why your two hemispheres are not creating the Christ child vessel within you? Your mother and your father wound. See, this is where we can let our bullshit stories go. Because although it is important for someone who is just waking up to this to find understanding and conclusion and closure with that physical story, your objective is to realize that however your father showed up in your physical reality is just to get the Saturn imprint moving, and how your moon energy, your shadow aspect, your relationship with connecting and committing and obligation and all that is going to be found in your moon. Okay, if you like take that to heart right now and go look at your charts and get rid of that sleep demon and get rid of that forgetful demon, then you might actually be able to pay attention to your own lane and your own game instead of trying to manage your kids' games or your spouse's games so your game can be more fun. It will never work, because what your relationship is with your divine father, divine masculine within, is going to be how the masculine treats you outside of you. 100%. They will not change if you start working on your feminine energy. You have to work on both. Both, okay? Because it is father, mother, child. Now, a little secret I'm going to share with you ladies is, where did you fall in to the category of Father, Holy Spirit, and Son, right? Where is that? Ladies, you are the Holy Spirit, which is why when you are not whole, you are not magnetic. When you are not whole, you cannot receive. When you are not whole, you flip into your masculine. So you become the unholy spirit. And that's going to be where your Lilith energy is. And I'm not saying Lilith is unholy. I'm saying that's the freaking character archetype that Eve went through to survive. Okay? It's a journey. And you've been at this for a long time. So even though your logical mind cannot understand this, this is what it is. And I'm not saying like, I know everything. I'm going, you guys, I've been at this for a really long time. And, like, I didn't even do my charts until I was like 35. And there was a reason why. It was because I thought I want to make it up my own. But what I didn't want to look at is what I was actually here to do. I like to stay in my denial, right? And then that delulu doesn't work. We know that. If you're in denial, delusion doesn't work. And so you have to go into the Nile River and you've got to look at what you're not paying attention to. And you've got to take ownership of it, accept it so that you can change it at a seed level. And Kabbalah teaches all of this. But what I'm going to give it to you is, instead of kind of the Kabbalah structure of, logical reality, which is, if you're very, very, very logical, I would say study Kabbalah over and over again, because if you can only receive information at a logical point, you can still understand this game through the logic of Kabbalah. But if you're like, okay, I've got it, that we're here to be the light, bring the light, share the light, and manifest with the vessel, and the light is what makes the baby. Okay. The vessel is feminine, the light is masculine. That comes together, there's a chemical reaction, and that makes a baby. That's why Terrence Howard is saying 1 + 1 = 3. Because anytime, and I know this as a biochemist, anytime that you put two things together, there's a chemical reaction and it makes a third entity. Okay? Thought, feeling, entity. So again, you got to look at it from the non-linear perspective to understand that mathematical composition. But if I can't be in another room and the two of us together merge, our consciousness makes a third entity. This is why your houses get haunted. This is why, attachments get on you. It's because every time there's consciousness merged together, it's light, it's dark, it's always going to be polarized, and it's going to create something. Okay, it's either going to create contraction or expansion. So remember in Kabbalah that the contraction is good. It's because that is your soul breaking down that vessel so that more light can come in, so that you can create a new vessel. But if you are not changing the seed level, then, and you're still logicking, you're living in the 1% of circumstantial proof reality, and you're not taking into consideration that the 99% is where you should be living right now. And I don't mean not taking care of your physical body, but working on the vessel from behind the scenes. Nothing is going to change for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, you have until 2030 to figure this out. That is when the games will split, like officially. Okay. And I'm not saying you have to be in the Christ vessel at that point, but what I'm saying is if you are not working on your poison, moldy, cancerous, guilt and shame laden seeds, and you're, trying to make some big life change out there, good luck, because you're going to bring all that cast and characters with you. And I know from experience, you guys, I am definitely, like I said, stubborn in that way of, I'm like, well, let me see if I can do it. You can't. The only things that are changing in my physical reality right now, casting character wise, is the seed level changes I'm making. And the seed level changes are making by you realizing that it is original sin that is making you, or asking you to create, more self-sabotage, more problems, more challenges. And I will tell you guys, if you go, well, I'm going to challenge this, I am going to do something on the outside because I just can't take it anymore. Okay. All you're going to be doing is putting yourself into a corner, because the soul will go, yeah, sure. You can run there. You can run there. Everywhere you go, there you are. You can't outrun yourself. Okay. And so eventually what the soul will do is be like, your time is up. This is now where you have to figure all of this out. And it will be the least comfortable. It will be the least supported. You will have the least amount of resources to do it. Because the soul knows that you are way stronger than you are pretending to be. And if it creates a death experience, then you start over. But again, you're going to start over in that corner. What do you think a newborn's life is like? You can't go anywhere. You can't think for yourself. You can't feed yourself. So you do not want to put yourself in that beginning if you don't need to, because the soul will decide in the next few years what is going on with you. And if it does not serve you to be as far as you are spiritually in the bottomless pit, the next chapter of the Matrix, because their circus is picking up and leaving, and they don't live on top. Okay, they're leaving. if you end up going with that, you probably won't even be able to know who you are for another 27,000 years. Okay. Because it's going to be a new cycle. And again, I'm not saying this to scare any of you, but like there's some of you that I'm talking to or even paying me for mentorships, and you're like, but I really want to know what to do with this person over here. And I'm like, okay, I love you, but ain't nobody out there. You are literally in your own womb dreaming this whole thing, and there is no one in your physical reality whatsoever, whoever ever has been or ever will be, that is not coming from the seeds of your own manifestational imagination. You are the imagination of consciousness. You are the creator and the creation. That's masculine and feminine. Okay? All right. So let's look at this. The list that I gave you guys to work on within your own selves. Remember the loss list? Some of you guys got really overly overworked on it. Some of you didn't even look at it. Some of you didn't even do it. Well, we're going to return to that. And the reason why is because let's look at this losses and gain sheet, right? And remember, vessels, losses in time. Like, how many years did you spend in that bad relationship, right? And again, might have already cleared this, but you're just going to write it because you'll feel whether there's a charge or not. And you're not going to necessarily feel the charge when you look at the loss sheet. You're not going to feel the loss there. You're only going to feel the loss when you look at the soul's desire list. Remember, like your highest soul's desire. This would be the equivalent of, you're going, I'm going to find my soulmate, right? And so you write all the qualities. And I do this with my clients if they're looking for a soulmate, all the qualities that you want. And then what you do is you write all the qualities that you think that person wants. And then you're like, your guilt and shame is going to show up. Okay. Because obviously you want to create this amazing person. Do you think you are? Do you think that this person is going to show up at your door and be like, I choose you? When you're running from your own guilt and shame? No. And so whether it's a soulmate that you're seeking or a soul place, like you got to get out of where you live. There's a couple of you that I'm working with right now that not that you got to get out, but this is like your soul can't breathe where you are. And that's perfect. That is the fire under your ass. Okay. And then there's other of you that don't necessarily want to move or change, but you really there's things about your health or there's things about your kids or something like that. Right. There is big stuff that you are wanting that isn't coming from survival based needs, because that is not your soul's desire. Your desire does not care or even entertain the ideas of you being in survival when you are literally God. So the soul won't entertain that. The creator will not entertain that. The positive angels will not entertain that. And so anything that's entertaining that in your ear isn't coming from light, right? So that's one good indicator. So you get this sheet out, right? And you're going to look at it. And what you're going to do is you're going to realize is that this is your original sin. Now, by default of not your own free will. By the way, you guys understand, if you really listen to Kabbalah, and this kind of set me free on certain levels, you had no choice in this lost sheet. None. All the things you've lost is part of your original sin. Because again, remember, what does guilt tell me to do? I don't deserve. I must punish myself. I am unworthy. Okay? That is going to be the root masculine sin. Masculine is your actions. So shame is kind of birthed out of guilt. And here, let me show you how. Okay? You do something you feel guilty for. Now, I have heard some confessions in this last week that have been so amazing for you guys to trust me with certain things that you've shared that you experienced or accidentally happened with you or happened to you, and you didn't show up like the Christ in that situation, and that is literally been destroying your bodies, and that is literally been destroying your reality. Because remember, when something happens to you or through you or at you or you do, that it is part of the original sin. Because when you feel guilty, it generates a whole identity around that, which means like attracts like. So you're going to then match up with other people who feel guilty. Now, what does guilt do to guilt? It destroys each other. Okay. Like, what does guilt do? It makes you highly arrogant or cowardice. Okay. It's going to be, guilt is going to create the extreme persona in people, which means that if I was going to look at a guilty mother, she might be really over nurturing, over protective, over analytical, over clingy, over vicarious, all these things. And she thinks that she's just afraid of the world outside, but it is actually coming from that guilt and shame, which means that if you had no guilt and shame, you wouldn't even have fear, because you would know that everything was in divine order and it was part of the script. It's part of the next logical happen. And if anything did transpire, it was coming from the light. You know, sometimes making things is called making boundaries, and that's not a bad thing, as you'll learn in next week's class when we talk about the feminine and the masculine magnetism and creation points, because the way women are here to manifest is by being the egg, not the sperm. All right. And the way men manifest is by being the sperm looking for the best egg. Okay. And I don't mean about, that's a metaphor. All right. Now, this sheet, your current vessel right now is the combination of this list. Okay. Like, there's some things that are like almost like coming attractions that you can like almost taste it. You've got some things lined up that are like, oh, it kind of really matches like this soul's desires. You've got some things that are manifestations of soul's desires. You have like, you can kind of see it. And then some things feel so far away. Okay. So far away. So the things that made it feel the most far away on the soul's part of the desire list, okay, is where you have the biggest guilt and shame imprint. Please take this to heart. Okay. Biggest soul imprint is right there. All right. So that means that when you look at your soul's desire and your loss sheet, you're going to feel bad, because it's like, remember, you may not feel like you want to punish yourself for the guilt that is in your vessel, but somehow you do. Now, what does punishment look like? I don't mean beating your own ass with a baseball bat. Come on, guys. What I mean is by forgetting to do your inner work, not taking care of your body, not putting yourself out there, not sharing your gift with the world. It's like, it's not like I'm guilty, so I'm this curmudgeon. No, it's like guilt is going to show up as, it's going to show up as perfectionism. It's going to show up as procrastination. It's going to show up as lack of motivation. It's going to show up as over motivated. It's going to, remember, it's going to be in the two extremes. Now, what you're going to do, because you are hiding yourself, because that's what shame does. It's almost like this. Guilt happens, and then it's like, what do I do? So shame goes, I'll help you. Let's hide. let's hide what we did. Let's hide who we are, because now all of us is bad. And that is like, that is that other angel, or that other little inner guidance that is like, it's almost like, you know, you think of like Saturn, or you think of like Satan is like some like big, you know, big strong men that are keeping you in the matrix. It's like little tiny wisps. And so it's like, oh, I'm guilty, you know, I am bad. And then shame, or guilt will say, I did something bad, even if you didn't. And then shame will say, it's because you are bad. And when these two come together, which is original sin, a human's behavior is going to get real sketch, okay? Because it's going to then be in the masculine and the feminine at war with each other. I did something bad. You're bad. I'm bad. You're bad. You did something bad. And it's going to be this conflict. And you could spend lifetimes in original sin, which we all have. Trust me. No matter how spiritually intelligent you are, if you have not changed this imprint and this program, you're going to be a guru with secrets, and it's just a matter of time till the mob comes to get you. Okay, I've been there. What do you think happened to me? I didn't know I still had that program in there. I didn't know that I was operating and making financial choices and relationship choices out of original sin. I did not know that, because I'm channeling God and I'm putting my hands on people. People are healing and I'm going around the world getting awards, right? I didn't know that the bottom was going to fall out and that I was creating all that. Didn't know that. How would we know that? Because, I mean, guilt is like such a normal thing in the matrix that it's like, well, everybody feels, oh, every single human is parenting through mommy or daddy guilt if you haven't pulled this plug, which means that your vessel is going to generate things for you to be guilt and shameful for, no matter how perfect of a parent you are. And I really need you to hear that. You cannot get this right with original sin. Somehow you will F up, and then you will relive that guilt and shame. And the soul says yes to this, because every time you create a new seed out, a new manifestation out of guilt and shame, which is in every ingredient, because it's original sin, then what's going to happen is you're generating a new version of something outside of you that is going to now give you the experience of reliving guilt and shame. It is the only way that you will know it's in there. And that is why the Creator and Satan work together to allow these seeds to grow within you and project them outwardly, so that when it hits you, the more spiritually aware you get, then you can be like, wait a second, this is an old story. And how am I this spiritually evolved and I'm still making these really horrific choices? Okay, because it's not like Satan is outside of you poking you. No, it is literally, it is really, what is the word I'm looking for? Instigating what you already have inside of you, because it knows what original sin is inside of you. It knows that all it has to do is whisper this or show up this way. And then that's going to make you choose to go, yeah, I'm going to go here. And then it ends up destroying you. And the thing, or destroying another person, and then that is going to be, the guilt is going to be like washing over all of you, and then shame is going to go, well, this is why you shouldn't be on Facebook. Oh, let's hide, or let's block everyone, because they're going to think you're bad. So shame is either going to say, I need to hide you because you are bad, or shame is going to say, I'm going to hide you because they think you're bad, or I'm going to hide you because they're bad. So again, it's almost like the narcissistic and the empath of the original sin, right? It's like when something happens guilt-wise, that's like the empath, like, what do I do? And then the narcissistic shame comes in and is like, I'll help you. And then that is going to be the masculine, feminine, Satan, or your opposition. That's going to be your game that you're playing against, because you have masculine, feminine, and the opposition is masculine and feminine. So what is the other frequency that you would want to lead with? Well, I'm going to give that to you guys next week, because there is an antidote and it is an activation. But first, I want you to do this, because if you start actually right now, before you take heart and do this work right here, and you start using this formula, all hell is going to break loose, because you're going to start calling in all this reinforcement of change of guard to start helping the inner child, like, walk through get to the kingdom gate, because only the child can go to the kingdom, right? The new vessel, the new you. So the inner child that you are working, that we've been kind of creating in the last few master classes, through the art therapy and the fellowship with Creator, and reestablishing the kind of parental understanding of our story. The new inner child that is online is not the child that you had as a child. It is your higher self's inner child. And she or he has the North Star inside. So everything that they want to do that is nonsense, if you would just let go of logic and start following that inner child is not the broken inner child that you grew up with. This new inner child that you've been molding through self-love is the inner child of your higher self, and she is her past version. So she is the way. She is the I am. Okay? That is who you follow. That's why you, in Kabbalah, it's like certainty beyond logic. It's like, I know she knows the way. Okay? And so that's a little nugget. But there is an exact formula for this original sin. But what we're going to be working in this class right now is kind of going full circle with this full acceptance of everything outside of me has been generated from a seed level of my thoughts, words, actions that came from the genetic coding of the cell. So again, if you cannot beat this game as Adam or Eve. You can't, because Adam and Eve's story is trash. Okay, so you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to then go to the Christ consciousness. What do you think the Christ consciousness is? It's a vessel. It is a state of being. It is a completely different character avatar, right? The way that Christ shows up. If you want to kind of get like a modern day, like, well, what is Christ's personality? Go watch The Chosen. Like, that would be good method acting. If you want to go, like, I don't care if you believe in the story or not, but just that Christ consciousness is like, let me see how he shows up in these situations. Let me see how he shows up with shame and guilt. Let me see how he shows up here. And you will start to go, oh, that's different, because you're showing up right now as one of those 12 disciples, and you're trying to act as your own Christ, and you've got basically these 12 disciples or your other astrology signs that have so much potential, but they also have something that we call in Kabbalah called a tikkun, which is that soul's baggage that keeps anchoring you down. Okay, because when I say that original sin is in every single ounce of you, it's in all 12 signs of your zodiac house. It's managed by Saturn, okay, and it is the game. So you're going to go, okay, so what? Original sin. So no matter what I do, I'm going to continue to live in my heart and follow my soul. But if I do not start being intentional about what is sabotaging here, and starting to see that I am regenerating this guilt and shame pattern, okay, over and over again. Now, what's guilt and shame when it comes together? What is the love child of guilt and shame? Fear. 100%. That's the baby. Because remember, 1 + 1 = 3. So that is it. That is the love child of guilt and shame. And it's going to be it happening in your 2 hemispheres. So either your masculine energy is the guilt program, and then the feminine is going to be narcissistically attacking the guilt with its shame, or vice versa. The feminine is going to be walking in the guilt, and the masculine is going to be attacking her. You've got to figure out what your story is. But based on why you don't have the resources you have, why you have these people in your reality, why are these people in your movie? Okay, why your kids act like that? Why do they not act like that? Okay, where is your relationship with the parentals, the parentals? Like, where is your relationship with your body? What is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with time? What is your relationship with space? Okay, what is your relationship with the past? What is your relationship with the future? This is where you can find original sin in every place you look. So if you just go, okay, I'm going to ground myself here. I'm going to look at my loss list, and then I'm going to look at my desire list. And I'm going to be neutral. I'm going to be Switzerland in the middle, which is not actually neutral, but they pretend to be. Okay, that's there in the middle. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to go, oh, so now I'm going to give you the formula for this. The formula for you to get a clean slate right here is going to be our Trinity formula. Our Trinity and formula for Jedi this year is that we know that to receive and allow that Christ vessel to come in and cellularly bind with our own holographic genetics here in the quantum computer, then we've got to understand law of attraction, which is like attracts like. So if I want to call in and download and actually like it's almost like you got a new kidney, but it's got to hook in and it's got to work, and it's got to work with the system, and sometimes the system can reject it. And that's what's been happening to you guys. Ever since you went through kind of your big walk of shame and guilt, like you were blacklisted or you were attacked publicly or you were on the cross or your family annihilated you or, like whatever happened, that is when your Christ vessel came online. Now it starts to come in, but guilt and shame is happening, so you push it away. I don't deserve that. Right? I don't deserve that. And then you've got an army of aliens sitting in your head that are constantly telling you, you don't deserve that. Because the closer you get to the light, the more guilt you feel because original sin starts to surface. So right before you kind of become enlightened is going to be the most horrific you're going to feel about your avatar. Not you, but it all comes to light. Your whole thing is going to come to light. And you're going to realize you created it all. And there's never been any enemy outside of you. There's never been one person outside of you that was like, I'm going to hurt her. No, it was generated from the inside out. So we got to clean it out from the inside. And how we're going to do that is we're going to do our 3-point Trinity, which is if we want to manifest like the creator, we have to act like the creator. If we want to receive like a creation, we have to act like God's creation, which means sin means separated nature. And so when you are not acting like a child of God, then you are acting like a child of the world. And a child of the world is going to do, speak, behave, act, receive, and give through circumstantial rules, laws, and governmentship. You're going to be your father's child if you are operating in logic. If you've ate too much from the tree of knowledge, you're going to act like your faux daddy. Okay? Even though you don't believe you are, you are. So what you actually have to do is remember who your real pilot is. You're the one who created you. I don't care what religion you are. Let's bypass the word God, universe, creator. Something created you. And that is who you want to learn to mimic. That is who you want to learn to disciple from. And we know that it is all loving, all giving. It does not receive. It is all giving. It is the substance of creation. It's everything. So are you acting like the light? So the way that you want to neutralize both sides, because what's going to happen here is the pendulum is going to keep swinging, which means you're going to feel like, ooh, I'm going to do something that's in alignment with my soul's desire. And then you're going to start walking up to it, and then you're going to manifest either Mr. Shame or Mr. Guilt. Guilt is going to show up in your movie right before either you get to it, or when you get to it, the bottom's going to fall out, or something's going to happen. You're going to feel horrific. You might not feel guilt or shame. You might feel depressed because guilt and shame has morphed into many different casting characters, but it's all covert. It's all under it seems like it's out of nowhere. It's blindsided. It's nitpicking. It's irritated. It's like, I don't know why he just started doing this all of a sudden when I was going to go, work out. Or I don't know why all of a sudden you started saying this when, I was about to buy this, right? So I know because you got these two guards that are guarding your every move to keep original sin in place, because that's your shackles in your golden cage. Okay? So you got to realize that nothing you do outside of you is going to change this story, and you're going to keep getting disappointed. You're going to get frustrated, irritated, annoyed. That's going to start to try to trigger resentment. That's going to start to trigger, like, I want to abandon, I want to reject this. And now you're going to be on the other side of the Adam and Eve, where you become the creator of abandonment and rejection in another. And then you're going to get karma from that. I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. If you sat with me and your chart, I'd be like, look, it's all right here. And then guess what? Next month, this person's going to do this to you. And then next month, this is going to happen. It's like so clockwork, right? And there was like something that I've been on the fence with recently, and it's not fence, it's more of just like self-preservation. And when I sat in my meditation this morning, creator told me to take a huge action that I was like, what? Like, basically, if you don't do this, this can't happen. And I was like, okay. And I mean, it was something that I was like going to try to push away for a good year. So, I know I got the message. So it's like, I'm going to take action in that area as soon as possible. Actually, I already started the ball rolling because you got to go right now. You got to show up. So how do we do it? What is the three-part Trinity? If you happen to be watching this on some other forum and you're not in Jedi, which is our masterclass. So there's a three-part kind of a light generating activity that you can do when you are at your most rock bottom, or if you are at your most high. It doesn't matter, it will work because you are still God, even if you're pretending to be Adam or Eve. All right. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to look at this loss list, and you're going to remember you always are going to need 3 points for healing. 3 points to create a chemical reaction. Remember? Father, mother, child. That's what you're going to need to create anything new in your hologram. 3 points. To make a 4-point physical reality, you're going to need 3 points. So, okay? So you're going to need to, and this is going to be in the 99, guys. This isn't in the 1%. You don't have to go in the world and do this. Matter of fact, stay out the world and go into the 99% where the whole infinite potential resides and where creator is there, where your higher self is there, where your true family is there, okay? Like, go in the 99%. You're going to sit in there and you're going to look at this list. Okay. Now, one of the things that we have to do in order to attain the Christ vessel is, and I don't like the word kill, so we're going to demote the ego, because the ego is the self-righteousness, it's the self-preservation, it's the me, it's the what about, and then they did this to me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you cannot have that. You cannot have that if you want the upgraded vessel for the golden age of unity and community and fellowship. It's got to be we. So you're going to be the bigger man or the bigger woman, and your ego is going to hurt at this activity, but you're going to do your 3-point blessing, praise, and prayer, right? So you're going to look over something. Now you're going to look at something you lost. What I recommend you do if you really want to accelerate is you write down the people and like situations that went around that loss. You know, was it a business you lost? Who was there? Okay. Because again, what you're doing is you're settling up your debt with Saturn by doing this, because light is actually what the matrix wants, not your money. They want your light, and you're going to give it to them right now, because you're going to realize how infinite your light storages are when you are in your heart. Interesting. So you're going to be like, wow, I'm super abundant at this. I could do this all day. Your inner child's like, and then let's do this, and let's do this. And your ego's like, I don't like this. This isn't fair. And you're like, shut it down. You know, close your app, you ego. You're over there. You're demoted until you receive your next coordinates. And the ego will have a job as it will go from micromanager of Saturn to personal assistant of your higher self. Hello, promotion. So you just let it know. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for reminding me what they did to us. Thank you for reminding what I owe them, whatever. But you're going to be right here. Okay. And you're going to take the names, the people, the places. If you lost a home, if you lost a bunch of weight and gained it all back, whatever, anything that you feel like you lost, time, space, health, money, freedom, people, write it down. You know, it's like let that shit go. Like, don't leave anybody out. Okay. If you really want to be successful with this Venus retrograde, Venus is all about the way you love. And the way you love is the inner child of a creator. Okay? It is like the language of your soul's love. And it is the most important thing you're here to do. So if you don't clean it up, it's going to backfire. Big old bitch slap. It's going to happen for you if you do not do this inner work now. If this is like, if you're on this leg of the journey, if you're in this lane and you know better and you don't take action, remember, who's going to be in more trouble for like breaking a lamp at the house? A 2-year-old or an 18-year-old? So if you've been on this journey for a while and you know better and you don't do better, well, like I said, higher self is okay with putting you in that corner. And in that corner, that is where you're going to face your original sin. And it has not been pretty for me because Gemini, I'm like, woo, go over here and hide, go over here and hide. And so it's not working. So you got to face it. So this is like facing your whole story that's just a hologram and it's not important at all. So you're going to go there and you're going to look at it. And then you're going to do your 3-part blessings, which is whatever you lost, you're going to ask the creator to bless. To me, bless, some people are like, oh, it means be less. But again, what our higher expression and intention for the word blessing is to kind of like give light, and blessings could be healing. To me, a blessing is whatever that need, like whatever that person, place, or thing needs. One of the meditations we're going to do next week is we're going to go visit certain elements of our reality with a blessing that we don't know what it is, but they will know what it is when they receive it. And that's going to be fun. But what you need to understand is that when you bless someone, it's better to even keep it general, because the creator knows what that part of you see, everyone out there is you. The people you've hurt in your life, it's been you. And the people that hurt you have been you. So you're blessing yourself, because guess what, ladies? You're going to become the Holy Spirit. And I don't mean you're going to disappear into the ethers, but you're going to be working from the intuition feeling expression. You're the inspiration. You're the visionary, okay? And the masculine is going to be the light that is going to kind of fertilize that vision. And so if you're going to go towards holistic spirit, that means all versions of you need to get integrated. So this is an integration point too. So stay out of ego. You don't deserve it. I'm going to tell you right now, if you go along with the thought that says that, you're going to call in another angel to reinforce it, and you're never going to get through this. So your ego, go take a smoke break, whatever you do over there. Go over there, okay? We're going to work. We're going to bless this situation, this person, this place, or this thing. Now, remember, we're looking for like big losses that it's almost like they've let go of you, but you still had a hard time of letting go of it because of resentment or bitterness or, grief or guilt or shame or whatever, humiliation. Like you just can't some part of you is just like, ugh. Okay. Now, if you don't have any emotion about it, go read your soul's desire lists. And this one will start to hurt a little bit, because that's going to be where the anchor point is. Now, if some of you are very intuitive, you could even ask, where is this loss being held in my cellular memory? Because it's going to be somewhere in your field as well. There's going to be like a emotional memory, but it's also going to leave an imprint, because energy and motion. If you have not processed this loss list, it's going to be somewhere in your field. And I gave you guys the karmic software clearing channeled meditation that you can reinforce. But this one is going to be kind of like the manual sit down and confront and accept experience. Probably why I will make this public, because I believe everyone deserves to do this if they're feeling ready. So you're going to bless them. And you're just going to say, Creator, bless them with whatever they need. Okay? Even if they owe you. Okay? Even if you owe them. Don't matter. It's good. Even if they're in the higher plane, right? Don't matter. Okay? Whatever it is. If it is a loss, it was manifested from guilt and shame, because loss does not exist in creation. It's lower vibration. It is a lower vibration that creates a loss. Like you wouldn't even lose your body. You wouldn't lose your health if there wasn't this accumulation of this narcissistic pair that gets in your head, okay? And it comes with the suit. Guilty by association, okay? If you look in your charts, you'll actually see what kind of big losses you're going to have and what you're going to struggle with, okay? You'll see all of it. So you're going to bless it. Now you're going to praise it. And let's say you absolutely hate this person, or your ego hates it, because you don't hate anybody. Your entities inside of you hate it, but you don't, okay? And they're like, no. This is where you kind of like push the ego away and you become the bigger person. You become the Christed version of yourself. And you're going to find 3 positive aspects about this thing, even if it was like someone brutally hurt you, someone molested you. Find 3 positive aspects about either the situation or the person. And if you really, 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 really struggle with that, maybe you can call in some angels to help you, or take a pause and go to the light, count your blessings, step into a place of gratitude, come back. Okay, that'll put you more in alignment with to do the work if you've got a lot of bitter, ragged edges. Okay, because it's a script, you guys. If you do not forgive this, how are you going to get a new one? You gotta let go. So you're gonna pray. You're gonna find 3 things that are positive about the worst possible things that have ever happened to you, and then you're gonna go into the prayer. The prayer is gonna be integration. An integration point is going to be the gap. The integration is the mother father energy. It's like, okay, I'm blessing the situation. I'm praising. So you're basically squeezing out the lesson here, and you're filling the deep gaping hole that keeps you unholy with light. And all you have to do is call it in. Wow, pretty easy. Okay, you're going to call it in. So the last piece of prayer, and it's a prayer for integration, is I now pray for integration of this situation with this person, place, or thing to be, confirmed in love. I'm grateful. So it's just integration. You can just ask for integration here. And what I always ask for win-win situations on both sides. If it was a conflict or like a debt or something, or someone got hurt, you ask for a creator to bring in the best possible integration, because now you have to rejoin. You remember, anything that you have space between, your opposition is going to be whispering in both ears to try to get a conflict to happen, because the negative side of masculine energy, it's not negative, it's just kind of neutral in general, is division and separation. So this is how this whole patriarchal, like, dominant, aggressive, faux god thing happened in the last 6,000-7,000 years. Okay, that's how that happened: separation and division. Okay, feminine energy is nurturing and inclusion. It's unity. So we want to let go of the division that was created there. If you feel like you've lost someone real, like a relationship or a person, then what you're also doing is you're asking for integration, so that maybe you can talk to that person from the other side. You're bringing that energy, the heart energy, back together, and that soul fragment that you think is another person, but it's actually a soul fragment, you're bringing that back to you. So that's your 3-part Trinity, and you're going to do this on every single one of these. Okay? Now, here is how you clean the slate and let more of your soul integrate and more of the expansion happen with less lessons. Okay, is now, once you get through this list, and I would not half-ass it, because you're half-assing your own experience here, right? And nobody can come do this for you. I got to do this myself. You got to do this yourself. Then on the other side of it, you're going to look at all the desires that you have. You're going to notice that you feel a little bit better about them. Your ego doesn't, because your ego's like, wasn't even here for you to do that, because it cannot hold the vibration of what you are doing in the higher realms. You did this in the 99%, not the 1. You did not do this in physical reality. You did this in the higher dimensions with your unseen friends. Okay? Over on the soul desire side, okay, you're going to do the same thing. And you're like, why do I need to bless it and praise it? Because you're activating it, you're saying yes to it, you're stepping into receivership of it, you're identifying it, you're owning it, you're allowing it, you're turning it on, because it's not turned on. If you're not super turned on about your soul's desire, it ain't turned on. It's turned off because this thing over here has turned off your heart to have it. So you go in, you do the Trinity on both sides. This is going to be your pendulum that keeps going from guilt to shame, from guilt to shame. Now it's going to be neutral, 0 point, completely clean slate. Okay? And then how you show up after, which is next week's class, is going to now amplify this and animate it, because it's on now, which means that it's now in your field. And now all the loss that's in your field is now, it's now balanced itself out into neutrality, new to my reality. Now it's at its baseline 0 point, and now it can turn back into ice, water, steam. Because if it's steam, it's particles now of all these things you lost could be re-given, repurposed, reanimated, but from what was downloaded into that fragment of yourself, which is blessed, praised, and prayed for. Don't you want those soul fragments to feel that? Hello. All right. So that is the process, and I'm working on this daily. Okay. So I kind of, what I do is I put this part of my morning routine, because it's like, even though you do this once, you're not going to be able to do this like with great like excitement of a child until you've done it a few times. So I would say it, and this is probably going to take a while depending on how losses and gains work on your sheets here. Do put not distracted, Satan's going to try to come in there and bug you, but you're just going to sit with it and do it 3 times, because 3 is going to activate in all the little things that kind of slipped around. And if you start to remember more, add them. Because even if you did like a reversion of this every day, is it really hurting you, or is it quantum leaping you because you're doing it in the 99 instead of trying to work in the 1% to move your life anywhere, which you can't? All right. So that is the message for today. Okay. Remember last week, I gave you guys the 4 points of desire, and we are working on becoming that 4th level of desire, because the first 3 are the temptations. And what did Christ have to go through? 40 days and 40 nights. Those 3 temptations, that's going to be where your ego wants to take you. And because it doesn't believe it can go to the soul's desire, it's going to take you to the other 3. And it's going to tell you that if we go to the other 3 and we animate the other 3 desires, that's going to get us to the soul's desire. It won't. I promise. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week back in Jedi. Those of you guys who joined us for this 5D vessel workshop, thank you for choosing yourself here. Hopefully you got enough for you to hit the ground running, because we are playing in Saturn's time until we become sovereign vessels of free will creators. So you do not have access to free will in this game unless you pause. If you are playing in the 1%, you do not have free will. If you go into the 99%, now you have free will. So stop living in physical reality if you don't like it. Look at physical reality and then go live and change things in where there's actual life, right? And then go back in and feel the changes and see the shifts and watch the animations change and watch people's shit go away from you because they're integrated, okay? One thing you have to remember is that even if you've been at your spiritual journey for 20 years, the tree of knowledge is going to make your heart colder towards humans, colder towards the world, and cold. If you look at what freezing rain can do, freezing rain can actually destroy electrical systems, which means that the colder you become, the harder it is for you to be able to connect to the light. And so they always say hell is hot, but it's actually frozen. Because think about physical reality is like the shape of an ice, okay? And then when you start to go into the emotional space, it's water, it's malleable. Water will take any shape that you decide for it to be. And then the 99 was in the steam, which is where all the potentials are. So if you want to get different characters, different places, different opportunities, different resources, different reflections, you have to go in at the seed level at the pause point. Okay? All right, guys, thank you for joining me, and I will see you Jedis next week.